Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to share some terrifying stories with you. Nightmares that became real on and around Halloween in 2023. Halloween, for those of us who celebrate, is now over for another year. But for those whose worst nightmares became a reality, they don't get to go on with life as it was before, because for them, it will never be the same again. Let's start on October 19th of 2023 in Clinton Township, Michigan, where neighbors said they saw 30-year-old Stephen Wheeler out in the front yard of his home on Woodward Street, putting up Halloween decorations for his 3 small children to enjoy. They said when they saw him, he was happy and singing, and spoke to them as he decorated. It was a nice fall day, and their street was quiet. But when night fell, it was a whole different story. Police say they received a desperate 911 call around 9 p.m. from Wheeler's wife, claiming he was assaulting her in their home. Then, gunshots.
Out the bedroom, went in the kitchen. I heard like a pop, pop, pop. I said, wait, did you hear that?
Several neighbors say those shots were quickly followed by screams and saw the 2 young children of the family dart out the house. Soon after, the father opened the front door. The crime scene could be seen behind him inside.
He was pretty much standing literally right here. And he was standing in front of her, and he just looked at me and said, I shot her.
The women know the alleged killer, a young father who they say is in the military. They say him and his wife were going through a divorce. They have 3 young children, 2 of whom were home that night. The second neighbor,
She took off in the truck. She's like, I gotta get the kids. I yelled their names. They came running to me. I gave them hugs, got them in the truck, and all I wanted to do was keep them safe at that point.
the third neighbor, called the police. They arrived within minutes, taking the husband into custody.
Heard gunshots. I came outside after I'd noticed the police lights. They had taken the person down to the police car. I didn't know exactly what happened at the moment.
When police arrived at the home, they found Wheeler's wife, Jordan, deceased from a single gunshot wound, and neighbors outside tending to the children and reeling from the shock of what just happened. Stephen Wheeler was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. But even worse, he left his 3 young children without parents. He took away their loving mother forever, and their father will be behind bars, hopefully for the rest of his days. According to news reports, the Wheelers were going through a divorce and had been arguing at the time of the murder. But just hours prior to destroying his family and forever traumatizing his children, a neighbor who spoke to him said he sounded happy and just fine.
The family's next-door neighbor says he's known them for 6 years. We spoke with him, but we're not showing his face. You said you had spoken to him earlier in the day. What was that conversation like?
He seemed fine. He didn't seem agitated. He didn't seem irritated. He was in a joking mood. I mean, he wasn't... Everything seemed normal. In a million years, you would have never guessed that he would have done anything like this.
Now, things will never be fine again. And I can't even imagine the amount of help those children are going to need to move on from what they witnessed that night. They experienced a true nightmare in their own home and had no one to run to for help. Not their father, not their mother, because she was dead. So they ran for their little lives, out into the world, all alone, with no safe place to run to, and no safe arms to protect them from the horror they just saw. My God. Thank God for the neighbors who chased after them and tried to calm them and stayed with them while the hell played out in their home. I pray that they get the help they need to start to cope with what happened, if there is any that can help at all. Those little children need all our prayers, but it will probably be a very long time before they can sleep without waking up to the sounds of the terrifying gunshots that took their mother's life that night. God bless them.
They are now without both their parents as a result of this one incident.
Without both of them in an instant, in a matter of a few moments. And that's the most heart-wrenching part, is the kids didn't deserve that.
A mom taken from her children, her family grieving, children without their parents, and a community absolutely stunned and devastated.
It's horrible. I can't forget it. It's like playing over and over in my head as far as, what happened and whatnot.
Now, a woman in her 30s is dead. Her husband is in custody.
The next terrifying story I'm going to share with you is out of Severn, Maryland, where a 10-year-old little girl went trick-or-treating and after knocking on the wrong door, found herself in a nightmare situation. Police said they received a 911 call on Halloween night from a terrified mother after her 10-year-old daughter, who was trick-or-treating, was assaulted and chased home. The young girl's mother told police that her daughter knocked on the door of 66-year-old Cedric Paynes while she was out trick-or-treating around 6 p.m. When Paynes opened the door, the girl said he bent over and licked her ear. So she ran home to tell her mother, only to find that he was chasing her. And once she got inside, he also tried to get inside her home. When her mother saw him trying to get in their house, she pushed him back out, which almost ended her life. She said Paynes pulled out a gun, aimed at her, and pulled the trigger. The gun did not go off, and Paynes turned and ran back to his home, where police found him when they arrived on scene. News reports say he told police he didn't touch the child, and he was only trying to tell her a secret. Police conducted a search of Paynes' home and found multiple firearms, and even though he denied licking the girl or chasing her home, he was arrested and charged with assault and firearms charges.
It made for a strange Halloween night, one that was frightening in many ways.
I didn't do nothing, touch her.
That's 66-year-old Cedric Paynes proclaiming his innocence to 11 News. Police say they got the call around 6 on Halloween night that he'd assaulted someone on Dunfield Court in Severn with a handgun. Police say this disturbing incident involves a 10-year-old girl who had been trick-or-treating at a neighbor's house.
Knocked on the door, and when the individual answered the door, she said trick or treat, and this individual then proceeded to lean over, take his teeth out, and nibble on the young girl's ear.
Did you nibble that girl's ear?
No, I tell her, let me tell you something, and she was sitting right there, and I was sitting here, and she got up, and I said, boo! So she ran over there. I ran over there, and I was going to tell her mother, I didn't do nothing, touch her. I do the same joke with my grandson, and he jumps every time.
Police say the girl ran home, Paynes followed her, and attempted to enter the victim's house.
The owner of the other house followed her, attempted to get into her house, follow her in, at which time the girl's mom pushed the suspect back, pushed this individual back, and he withdrew a handgun, pointed it at the mother, and pulled the trigger. The gun, thankfully, did not go off.
I want to make something clear. I didn't pull no gun on nobody. I know better than that.
A search warrant of Paynes' home resulted in the seizure of 2 handguns, 1 shotgun, a .22 caliber rifle, and ammunition. Police say Paynes is not prohibited from possessing firearms and ammunition. Lisa Robinson, WBAL TV 11 News.
Had his gun fired, that little girl might have been without her mother today. Just a child, trick-or-treating, having fun and enjoying Halloween, until she knocked on the door of a real monster who terrorized her and could have altered her life forever. Thank God she and her mother are all right, but I'm sure the other people who live around Paynes haven't been all right since they heard what he did that night, what he's capable of, and what he may do again. Hopefully, he'll get locked up for a long time so he can't terrorize anybody else. But that isn't the end of the Halloween nightmares. I still have one more. A neighborhood in North Las Vegas, filled with homes handing out candy to trick-or-treaters and enjoying Halloween, found themselves launched into a nightmare when gunshots rang out on their normally quiet street. A woman who spoke with reporters said the neighborhood had always been a place for kids and teens of all ages to go to have fun and get candy on Halloween. But not this Halloween. This Halloween, that neighborhood became a place of nightmares. Police obtained this surveillance video from a home across the street from where the nightmare began, showing a vehicle pulling up on two trick-or-treaters and teens in masks pouring out of it. Then they all scattered after one of the trick-or-treaters started shooting. Neighbors were terrified to find that a 17-year-old boy who arrived in the vehicle before the shooting was lying in their street, bleeding to death. The shooter and the teen he was with fled the scene as neighbors called 911, but by the time police arrived on the scene, it was too late. The 17-year-old boy was already dead.
Good evening. A Desert Pines football player murdered in a North Las Vegas neighborhood on Halloween night. As friends and family remember 17-year-old Samari Norris Johnson, those living nearby shared more of their shock and their fear as police search for those suspects. 8 News Now anchor Sasha Loftus joining us now live near Camino El Dorado Parkway and Centennial Parkway with more tonight. Sasha?
Denise, you can see a small memorial growing behind me here where Samari lost his life. Now, those who live in this neighborhood tell me nothing like this has ever happened here before.
Me and my husband were in bed and we heard gunshots.
A normally quiet neighborhood now shaken after a teen is shot and killed on Halloween.
It's just hard to understand. It really is.
Police say a 17-year-old boy, identified by his mother as Samari Norris Johnson, was found dead in the street here near Centennial Parkway and Camino El Dorado Parkway.
When I come outside and I'm screaming because I'm like, and there's a girl around him screaming.
Officers believe a group of teenagers in ski masks drove up to two trick-or-treaters who then reportedly opened fire and hit Norris Johnson.
It's just something that we're not accustomed to hearing about, really.
Shirley Moten, who calls this especially devastating, tells us the area is known as a common spot for kids of all ages to spend the holiday.
It's always been really a nice area for them to come and get candy.
And while those who live here say what they saw was traumatizing,
it's definitely like scary because like you just seen someone die.
More than anything, their hearts are with Samari and everyone who loved him.
It's just a terrible thing.
Now, police are still searching for the suspects here, described as two teenage boys. One was wearing all black with a red backpack and a black ski mask at the time this happened. The other said to be wearing a white Scream mask. If you have any information whatsoever, please contact North Las Vegas Police or Crime Stoppers to stay anonymous. Reporting live tonight, Sasha Loftus, 8 News Now.
Police are searching for the shooter and the teen the shooter was with, and say they don't yet know why the masked teens in the vehicle went to the neighborhood. They don't know if they were after the shooter and his friend or not. They say they're still investigating, but what they do know is that the teen who was killed was a rising football star at his high school. Now, the residents of the homes on that street are horrified by what happened that night, right outside their homes, and a 17-year-old boy is dead. Thank God nobody else was caught in the crossfire that night. With children out trick-or-treating and people handing out candy, many more people could have been hurt. Not knowing what was coming and having only seconds to take cover out in the open. Now, Halloween will never be the same for the residents in that neighborhood, who just wanted to provide a fun place for kids and teens to go to enjoy the night. They had no idea when they decorated to make their neighborhood scary for the night, that they were no match for the actual terror that was coming. I'll be praying for them to recover from this, along with all the victims of these Halloween horror stories. As always, stay safe out there. Stay aware of your surroundings, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on my next video.